Aloha from the Maui Pono Network. We're in process of doing in-depth interviews of all the county council seats that we have, and we're focused on Wailea, Waikapu, and Waiahe. And with me right now is Randy Konohia. Am I saying that right, Randy?
Yes. Did you say Wailea or you meant Wailuku?
Wailuku.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, I was thinking Wailea. Well,
You just moved, brother.
So, Randy, the first question I have is, could you give us a little bit of an overview of your background that you have and why you feel qualified to run for this important county seat? And from there, I will then sign off to Lucy Ann. But if you could answer that question, we'd greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
hi, thank you guys all for having me. My name is Randy Ha'aheo Konohia. I'm 49 years old. Um, I reside in Hawaiian Homes here in Wailuku, Waiahu Code 3. I've been happily married to my beautiful wife of 12 years, raised an 11-year-old daughter. Piilani Konohia, she goes to St. Anthony School. Um, I'm a certified arborist by trade. I've been in the tree care industry for about 20 plus years. Um, I'm a general foreman for the Asplund Tree Expert Company, and I manage over 30 plus employees from the day-to-day operation, from the hiring process, firing process, to the safety compliance, all the way to, the day-to-day dispatching. Um, so I got my experience through that, just dealing with work and employees, and plus too with customers out there in the community. But I have a passion, because I was once Kolohe growing up here in Maui, and I found my spiritual, I found Jesus, and today now I'm giving back into my community that I used to pretty much wreak havoc in, and now my heart is for the incarcerated men and women, building that bridge between their children and family, and also the unsheltered, loving on them is where they at, treat them with dignity, and also, since I had some challenges with drug addiction and alcohol, I give back to those areas like Aloha House, all the recovery homes. So I have a passion with that. I'm a pastor at the Transformation Ministry that helps, men and women and families, get back into the community, help them get jobs, their driver's license. So I've been in the community, especially here in Wailuku. I've been doing ministry for about 13 years. So that's my heart. And, I guess my heart mourns for the people of Wailuku when I drive around and I see what's happening day to day. And this is just my way of giving back, broader, uh, I guess my horizon. In work, I've been successful in ministries and in programs. So maybe now, I can, give it a shot. So
Great.
a little bit about me.
Thank you, Randy, for that response. And Lucy Ann, you're next.
Oh, thank you very much. And really appreciate you making time, Randy. I know you're busy and every candidate is busy. Um, I'd like to start just with building on what you have said. So you really want to help those who seem kind of overlooked by our programs, and your ministry brings you in contact with people. What do you think as a council person, you would like to accomplish if you were elected to the council? What would this look like? Would there be laws you wanted to pass or certain programs you'd like to set up? Do you have any ideas?
Oh yeah, for sure. More social services. We need more um psychiatrists and psychologists, all those, social services. Is like I talk to my families who's their nurses, and they work at the shelter, and that's what they lack. So yeah, I'll be definitely, trying to increase that. And just more awareness, education, and just helping them get the mental health that they need, get them the spiritual help that they need, physical, so it's literally just walking them uh by the hand, pretty much. It's a long process, but I believe that awareness and getting everybody involved in from the top come all the way down, and not just relying only on the church and the programs, but I think our officials they have their responsibilities too.
And what do you think that the council government, the government through the county council who passes laws and approves budget could do um, to
Well,
shoulder more of the load, to provide more workers or train more workers? So do you have any idea of programs or anything that should happen?
well, just more hands-on relationship with like Aloha House, with drug court, with even with some churches. Um, just walking them through the process, getting them off the streets, getting them into programs, getting into homes, the transition. So just more engagement, education, um, and just more awareness, I guess, out there, how we can help the unsheltered, the incarcerated, and the families, helping them. Some is trust issues, some is hurt and abandonment. So it's a lot. But I think we can have conversations as a council member and have those heart to heart conversations and see where we can come together and make it a safe place for Maui, and so yeah, that's what my vision, I'm hoping.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm going to pass you on to Robin for our next question.
Aloha, Randy. Thank you
Hi.
for this. So I'm going to draw on your tree expertise. I'm an environmental scientist. I live in Kihei. I'm concerned about what I see as kind of inaction on the part of the county. We've had a climate adaptation and resilience plan, and we haven't really moved forward much in implementing it. Meanwhile, climate issues are slamming us, as I'm sure you're aware, with floods, fires, and other things. So one of my concerns as a resident of Kihei is heat. Heat kills. It kills a lot of people every year already. And
Yeah.
I see, for instance, affordable housing being built in Kihei or subsidized housing with no air conditioning, no climate-wise design. And I worry about the people who are already in housing like that and how that's going to be in the future. So what what could we do to make our cities more climate ready and less of a heat island?
I mean, for me, I think we need to get, especially for Kihei, get control of the water, you know, and so we can make Kihei not as dry, and that's so for me, I think that would be my first step is getting the water to all these places, getting, and getting the water from the private owners into public, hands. And to me, that would be the first thing. And um, but also with if you could plant more trees, obviously, more green, but it's the water and how much you want to spend on the water you can be trying to make Kia. Kia, no matter what. I don't know, even when you get out of the AC, you're still gonna be hot, So um, but as far as your question, how I would see as far as environmental with Kia being hot and getting a house, to me, what sticks out for me is just getting full control in public hands of the water. You know, that's the main thing. So we can make Kia the way green that it should be, for the locals and not just put them in a hot place and with all just dead grass around them, with no AC. So, minds like yours and minds alike that think alike, we all have a vision of what we can see and we execute and get that done. But you're gonna have to get the water first. So maybe that's my answer for you.
Continuing along those lines, follow-up question. So some of the types of proposals that have been discussed in the community include what are called nature-based solutions. So that would be doing what you're talking about from the standpoint of all of this water that comes down and floods us. Instead of letting that happen, that we would have that water where it would go more into the natural system. It would make the land, like you said, less dry. The challenges that we're facing in trying to implement something like that is that it's private landowners that own the land that we need for whatever those solutions are, whether it's retention basins or grassy swales or whatever the particular technology is, that those lands are in private hands. What
Mm.
do you do to either build partnerships? Would you be willing to look at eminent domain? How would you go about making the land that we need to make our communities, climate ready and climate safe? How would you go about us getting those lands or control of those lands?
No, well, yeah, you would have to either partner with them or you just, have to buy them out or and get the community involved, and I know they've been, but I believe there's a shift and there's a tide that's happening. All what Lahaina happening with the wildfires and now the Kona lows. I believe in my hearts of heart that the private owners is coming to a place where they're gonna meet at the table, and we need leaders that's gonna stand and do what is right for the residents of Maui and share that same vision that you and I was just talking about. But I believe that we got to fight all the way these private owners to get the land back to the people. And if it's gonna cost, we can talk numbers, whatever it takes, Robin, whatever it takes. And for me, that's what I want. I want to hopefully get the candidate seat and encourage and influence um the other council members is like let's get on the same page. I mean, this is what the people have been waiting for all these years. So that's my push and angle. Get the land and the water back into the locals' hands in so we can make the decisions, enough with the private ownership already. Sorry, my daughter is coming in now.
Thank you. I like that your ideas include working with the other council members and that you see the value of that. Thank you for that.
All done, Robin?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Randy, thank you for taking time today.
Everyone.
Hi, my question is, it cues off of what you just spoke about with Robin about working with the other council members. In order to get resolutions passed, of course, you have to have a majority of the council members to work with you. Who do you see as your allies on the county council now? And who would you see your allies out of the candidates that are running for county council?
You know what? I think generally every like Forrest and Allen, I believe they're for the people. And as far as getting that same vision, the water into locals' hands and um but as far as I think Marvin, he's uh more towards working and comes from the airport, more tourists,
Right,
more economics, and so I think he doesn't have that conviction as much as I think me and Forrest.
right,
As far as my on the council right now, I think would be like Cook and Uu Hodges, only because they're more for um building, but yet also more for I don't know, you know, for the developers. But for me, it's you you develop, but yet you develop with the mind frame of reservation. You know what I mean? Like, don't go big. It's real simple. Keep things not extravagant, keep it more where we can manage. Because the resources we have is real minimal, so it's so for me, that's I think would be my opposition. I think so would be more Marvin, and I think would be Cook and um Uu.
And those are the people you would have opposition, you have opposing views with, is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
They don't
just
have
wanted
that
to
same
clarify.
conviction. Yeah, they
Right,
don't
they
have
do,
that same
right.
conviction.
You also mentioned, putting the water, returning the water into the hands of the locals. So, as you know, there's issues, with the water being controlled by the state, and a water commission was formed. Correct me if I've got the name wrong, but the
Right.
how can we exactly how are we going to go about restoring those water rights to local hands, and what commission would oversee this? Would this be the county council? Would there be a separate structure? Would it be the ag commission, a water commission? How do you see that as working out so we can control our own water sources here in Maui County?
I mean, yeah, I was just share with my wife is like if the Wailuku County Council seat, the candidate, I think that they should manage their own ahupua'a and get their own committee. I'm not invested in Kihei, so I'm not gonna have really heavy conviction. I
Right.
would deal with Wailuku Company, water company, and I would fight teeth and nail to get that. And I would create Wailuku water commissions and land commissions and building commissions. So we all think alike. We don't think alike as Kihei. We don't think alike as we different. West side, Y side, so I think that's the conflict. So for me, I would rather keep it more in-house. It's just my idea. Rita. So, but
So going
it's
back
not,
to the natural division, the Ahupua'a divisions, because that already dictated the water and the resources in those areas. So,
right.
so that points to another question that I have for you. Right now, everybody in Maui County across the islands votes for all nine council members, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Rather than voting just in your own
District.
district. How do you how do you think that should be changed, or do you think it should be set up
I
that way?
think I think that would be good if it changed because people don't know me on the other side of the island and the other, but yeah, people know me here in my district, and I work with them. I look like them, I talk like them, I walk like them. So, I think like I said, we like-minded people.
Right.
Um,
Not to mention the campaigning, having to campaign across so many districts and three islands. That's quite difficult. So you would vote in the county council to limit voting by district for the county council member, correct?
yeah, I'll be open to that. That's makes sense. Things make
Okay.
sense. Yeah, I'll be open to that.
Okay. Great.
100%.
Great. So a restructuring of voting, and also restructuring of how we allocate land and water
Fun, yeah,
resources.
yeah.
Correct?
Because I know what my people are hurting,
Right.
you know. I see them day to day.
Yeah,
And if you live in Kihei, you see your people, you see your needs and concerns right there in front of you. I hardly
right.
go to Lahaina. Um, and again, it's the conviction. And for me, if something happens in my backyard, you know, it's gonna get done.
Yeah.
You know, people is gonna do things. We're gonna come together, and I think it just makes sense. You know, I don't know why. You know, and the thing is, it's almost like I challenge Kihei and I challenge Lahaina and on our budget. Like, hey, I bet you I can save, and it's whoever at the end of the day, come in more in the black, then like, hey, we get a reward and we can, build ourselves like a, bowling alley, and you got to pay for it, I mean, make it a competition, and so it gets everybody involved. You want to win, and for me, it's sad when you feel like you're losing, and
Right. So on that note about really localizing both the vote and the land and water resource management, um, what is the most pressing issue in your Wailuku district today? What would you say is the number one most pressing issue that you're facing today?
well, it's obviously the water. It's been a long history with the water, the Navaiha. Um, but if you go into Wailuku town, you see a lot of homeless, mental health, local families just living on the street. My wife works in Wailuku, and her door to get into her office had feces, human feces, and her coworker had to clean it up. That's unacceptable. And this is like one block away from the mayor's office, and again, that's not winning. That's not. I don't feel like, and
The problem is literally on your doorstep,
like,
literally.
yeah, and you can love on them, you can help them and feed them and do all these things, but we it's tough. But if we get everything in house, you know, my wife, she knows these people by name. They call her, so it's really a community, and coming together as a community. Like I said, it makes wholly sense to keep it like that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. So I will pass back to Lucienne.
Mahalo. Oh, Randy, a lot of food for thought there. Could you clarify? You mentioned that, Kihei is facing impacts from climate change, and that you thought that if we had the water in general from central Maui and other places in the people's hands, that Kihei could have more water and be cooler. Uh, so are you suggesting that more water from Nava'eha go to Kihei,
No,
or that Kihei develop its own water
yeah.
resources
So
from?
like what Robin was saying about the water catchment, catching the water that is
Hmm.
catch it before it goes down towards South Key Road.
Hmm.
That can be one way. Um, for me, enough with the hotels with the water going, making them green and Wailea all green, and when we got to drive through this like wildfire prone area. And then when we stay in Wailea, we feel like, we stay all in these luscious and green, so that needs to stop already. I think it would be nice to see, and everybody would agree, if we see local people's background is green, and it's just coming up with ideas and plans and executing it, and just getting it done. You know, I'm a doer, Lucienne. I'll go and do it myself. I can understand people just talking and knowing and all of this, and I just let's go get it done already. We can do it, but we just talking too much about it.
Let me ask you one more question. I don't know if you're aware, but the future water source that the county sees right now for South Maui and parts of Central Maui, because Iao Aquifer is, kind of up to here, is water from the Haiku Aquifer.
Yeah,
So I know you get plenty of cousins live over there, Haiku.
yeah.
Any thoughts on whether that's the best solution for us, or if we should look for other solutions, or just any thoughts?
If you can't find other solutions, find it. If you can do it yourself, do it. You know, and again, you got to be good neighbors. Kihei is still part of the family. Um, so yeah, if there's a lot of water in Haiku and a lot of water in Hana and you gotta borrow some, then that's what you have to do. And we can come and negotiate and talk story about it. But again, it's making sense. Just things that make sense, and we would love to go out to Kihei and enjoy the prosperity. And if we can be a part of that, your guys' backyard looking green, then bruh, a lot of haiku people will be coming and seeing, like, again, this is just my idea and my vision. Maui is a beautiful place. It shouldn't be looking the way it is. And the only reason why it's looking the way it is because of greed, profit, and control. And I think, it's that time. The tide is changing. It needs to go back into the people's hands. And that's the end of it. And we gonna move forward.
Thank you. Going to move you on to Robin.
Okay, there we go. So continuing along the lines that we're talking here about water, one of the things I noticed was during the COVID is that we only had half as much water use and half as much wastewater generated when there were no tourists here. And Kihei, especially, the biggest water users are the hotels in the tourism areas in Wailea. So would you support restricting tourism in order to have adequate water for everyone and for everyone's needs to be met?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, it's time to press that reset button and let the locals decide what we want and put it out to the table. And the people is just waiting for the leaders to do that. And yeah, it's been a long time coming. I'm excited, and we all have visions and it's time to make that change already. Yeah, Robin, we all getting older. We cannot stop talking already unless we get it done. Make it for our kids. And for me, just to share with you guys, like me being 6 generations rooted in this community and this Aina, it's my responsibility, Kuleana. This is what we're supposed to be doing from the gate. And I never used to believe in the politics and believe in all of that stuff that wasn't part of me, but then, like everybody else, we awaken that. And I think a lot of people is going to start awakening and realizing enough is enough. Everybody will get on the same movement and I did the math. 2.5 million tourists every year and 7,000 every day. We can find that balance. We're not asking for much. We're just asking for balance and reset button and have more people thinking like us. So it's nothing too much to ask, yeah. Especially we've been living here for how many hundreds of years, I think the community and the island going to all jump on that idea and jump on that train. It's a long time coming.
An idea whose day has come.
Yeah,
The time has come. Yeah.
the time is here. Time is now. Everybody realizing after the fires, after the Kona lows, after COVID, everybody realizing with the resources we have is limited, but put it in the public's hand, put it in, for me, being Kanaka, the convictions is real and true. I understand economics and you gotta make money and all of that, but we can find a balance. We can all win. But so for me, if you get like I was sharing with my wife, it's like for being a county council member, you should live in your district for longer than 10 years. Some ideas, you should be Native Hawaiian. This is just certain ideas, because the conviction is real and you can get things done. You're not tied to anything else holding you back from anything. You have a kuleana responsibility. And but yeah, that's my stance, ladies. Thank you for letting me share.
Yeah. Mahalo. That's all I had for now.
Okay. Randy, I have a question that's a little bit sensitive, and it's based on your past criminal record. And your opponents are going to want to use that against you.
Yeah.
How are you going to use that as a strength in your race to the county council? And how are you going to turn around people's ideas that they could label you? And if you have ideas for criminal reform or prison reform, can you expound on those?
Yeah, for me, I'm a living testimony of what God did for me, and I'm giving back. What happened, 20 years ago, I owned up to it. I did the crime, I did the time, and I learned from it, and now I'm giving back. And I've been giving back for 13 years. And you know, I own up to it, but I'm not gonna let that stop me. And that's why I hope to show people that there is a change, and the change starts with yourself first. You know, I never used to have faith in politicians and in the system. You know, and I came from a broken family, and now today I'm living my best life ever. And if God can do it for me, He can do it for other people. And you lead by example. They can try say this and that, but what I'm doing now, speaks more loud. And for me, just walking hand by hand with the incarcerated families, with the unsheltered, the mental health, loving on them where they're at, and all the programs, from drug addiction and hurts. This land has been hurt all these years, and we need to start the process of the healing process. I know affordable housing, and I know all of these things is important, but the people of the land is most important, and that's why I put my name in the hat, because I love these people in my community, and this other stuff. Because poho, you build a house, but the people is still broken. Yeah, you cannot put. So for me, I'm that living testimony that what God did for me, He can do it for other people. He can take one inmate, one prisoner, turn his life around, become a pastor, turn his life around, yeah, become a politician, and turn his life around. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just sharing what God did for me in my life, and if this is a way where people can be motivated and encouraged to get out and vote, it's like, wow, I remember him, and now he's doing good. I'm proud of him, So, and now if he can vote, then I can vote. If he can say things, and then hey, I get ideas, So I'm praying that's what happened. So we see.
Beautiful and very well said. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Okay, Lucienne, I'll pass to you.
Randy, have you had any community groups reach out and offer you support for your campaign? Like
No,
we've interviewed people, they said, oh, yeah, the teachers union are supporting me, or the ILWU or somebody like that. So
I reached out to ILWU and they said no.
mhm.
And but no, nobody's. I've answered a few questionnaires, but nobody, Lucianne.
So how are you going to finance your campaign? You have family and friends that believe in you who go, hey, we can help.
Um, for me, for honestly, it's me and my wife, and we just committed. We committed all the way, Lucianne, and we learning every day. And tomorrow I'm gonna learn something new every day. And by the time August 8th, we see maybe there I'll get more people that understand the heart behind this thing. Um, but yeah, I I I, I know I'm gonna need help. So that's why I'm just saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
When you guys had the invite, I said yes. Tomorrow I'm going to the West Maui Tax Fair. I don't know nobody, but I'm just saying yes, and I'm just sharing my testimony and sharing my story, and maybe that can resonate with people. And yeah.
Well, that's a very brave stance. And would you ever consider putting in your name for a board or commission in the county? That's another way to make
Yeah.
a difference. It's volunteer, it doesn't get paid, but
Yeah.
it's a thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
Yeah,
yeah, automatic.
little plug for that. I've served on boards and commissions, and it's very worthwhile. I'm going to pass it on to Robin.
So if you are elected to the council, would
Yay.
would there be certain projects or areas of work that you would want to be in, say on a committee or chair that committee? Something along those lines. Where do you see yourself fitting into that
I
structure?
mean, obviously the arborist, yeah, the arborist would be one, but I want the challenge. I want to ruffle feathers where make them think like, hey, you know what, we're gonna be thinking about this from a different perspective now. We're gonna reset button, change is here, and all what you guys was doing before is not working. So we gotta change, So I would, me being me, I want to go into the most controversial and just speak my mind and learn and read up and things. But I guess I would have to start in the arborist and also the wildfire. Yeah, well, any kind of fire breaks, wildfire, even like albizia trees, all of that stuff. All that thing that you deal with arborists.
I think Robin was asking about the council committees, which are like planning committee, water and infrastructure, social services, things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
So
not
that
not not the county advisory groups,
no.
like the arborist committee. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Just want to make sure you understood
Okay.
the broad
Okay.
question there. Yeah. Yeah.
I would like to sit on the land committee and the water committee.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you have in mind certain things? I got your technique. I like it. Stir it up, point out what's not working. But are there certain things that you've already identified that, mission that you would have with regards to land use or water issues?
Well, we got to protect ag land, yeah, for the farmers, and you got to, protect the water, and so no development, real keep everything on check, in check. So for me, it's just keeping it simple. And I'm a pretty simple guy, not too complicated, unless I don't want to do things overwhelmingly, but just um stop the development um in Eggland, you know, and get the water back into the public's hands. So that's my main push, and have conversations with these private owners. They need our help, and how we can help them and they can help us. And I'm all ears, I'm really willing to work with whoever, and come together. And if there's a disagreement and opposition, then let's see where that takes us. But yeah, I think I will do well in that, in any land or water commission.
All right, thank you so much. That's all I have right now.
Rita?
Lucian?
Yeah, Rita, are you ready
Yeah.
with a new question? Yeah.
I am here. I'm here. Yeah, yeah. Um, Randy, you talked about putting the people first, and creating the social services for people in need, and my heart is there as well. How do we, as a county, budget for this? So, for instance, attracting psychiatrists to
Yeah.
Maui when we already have such an issue getting any kind of doctors here on Maui, and providing and having the housing services, or the job training, the rehabilitation, the healthcare services available for people. How do you see the county raising the money to support this?
It's a good question. Well, for me, number one, so some of the homeless and unsheltered, they come from the mainland. We got to stop that, number one. And the ones that are here, send them back. Not to be mean, but it's just we got to, because that stops our social services going to our local families. And I think education, loving on them. A lot of the local families, they're hiding in the bushes, and you really got to be sensitive to that, and how you can love on them where they're at and get them the help they need, genuine help. As they see, um, they don't know how to ask for help, and so it's really a slow process. But I believe that they want that, and but as far as the funding, ideas on how we can, we got to learn, we got to get our own nurses, this training, our own local people to help our kupunas, teach our own local people to help our, mental health people, the homeless people, the ones who shame. It's guys like me helping. I don't have a degree, but I know how to talk to men coming out of prison. I know how to meet them where they're at. I can help them. So there's a lot of people that has the same story. You get them, helping them share their testimony, how they got out of the car from the bushes into a house. That doesn't really cost money. But if you can get support, you gotta get the guys who's been in that same position, going out there and helping them get back into get their life back straight again. And it's gonna take work. So I don't see that costing money. There's a lot of people out there that have made the transition, like myself, as an inmate to employment, and now I manage over 30 people, and now I'm a pastor. It's plenty people does that, and I believe give them purpose for go out there and help our own local people. Yeah. And it doesn't really take money, it just takes collaborating
So
and an
you
opportunity.
so you believe that the social services infrastructure that we have in place today is sufficient, but just so more being on the street, is that something that the county should focus efforts on, or is this something that local organizations, nonprofit organizations, community organizations, church organizations, is that their work to get them into these
Yeah,
social services?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's private and nonprofit, and but the county can support, they can give, any way that they can support that, by
Right,
giving property, by helping, writing bills, anything to help our people, helps, so, but yeah, I think coming alongside nonprofit and groups is the way to go to.
yeah. There's so many different reasons why people are under-resourced and end up without a home, without a house, without
Yeah,
a shelter, it could be employment skills training. Governor Green believes homelessness is a healthcare issue, and that we need people to get the healthcare they need, both physical healthcare as well as mental health care and that sort of thing. And then there's, of course, issues, people who coming out of prison and trying to get jobs and being turned down for many jobs because of their prison record.
yeah.
What kind of campaign can the county launch to help these people and let these people know that they are part of the broader Ohana, part of the community, and reduce the shame that they're feeling?
Just engagement, more education, more involvement.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of locals, just because they got arrested, they believe they cannot vote. I used to think that, education, and then I realized that, oh, I did some research. Oh, I can vote. So showing the official leaders actually coming down to people's level is 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 powerful. You
Right.
know, allowing them to come and walk and talk with the inmates in their level, with the unsheltered at their level, and not to shame them, but to
Yeah.
really calm down, let them know that they're part of the table. They're invited to the table. We all family in Ohana, and I think that's what lacks. You know, so hopefully, if I get in, I can get the council members. Let's go to the prisons. Let's show face. Let's love on these. They're our own families. Let's go to the unsheltered, the programs. Give them. A lot of people just want acknowledgement.
Right.
They just want to belong, and and get a lot of people like us. You know that we want to do that and give back.
Right.
Um. So, but yeah, I think that's what I hope the county council can be a part of. Officials, leaders in our community. Actually, to be a leader, you got to be a servant, one who serves.
Amen.
You know,
Amen.
So that's my strength. Not I won't eat first. I'll let everybody go eat first. That's one way I kind of gauge if you're a leader. Normally, okay, you let the leaders go eat first, but it's a humble testing. Like, no, we go eat last. So, but yeah,
Randy, that's a beautiful vision, and I hope that you're able to implement that vision. It's excellent. Thank you.
no, thank you, Rita.
And back to Lucienne.
Hi, well, we're almost at the end of our period. We probably have about one question more each. Randy, I don't know if you ever watch the county council hearings on TV. You're probably working during the day, yeah.
Yeah, but I heard
Sometimes
about
they
like
replay them.
the bill 9 and all of that
Yeah.
controversy and the bill 88. I kind of know, but yeah, I've watched that.
Well, I don't know if you saw the one last year. It was about the Wailuku 670 development. There was hundreds of people that came and testified because back in 2008, it was approved and they promised to build 450 homes in the project that were affordable. And then they went back, to the council and say, we just can't afford to do that. Let us reduce this. Let us change the law, reduce this to 288. And it was, a lot of back and forth. Any idea if you were sitting on the council, how you would, look at something like this, what kind of questions you might want to ask to, get all the information before you decided?
Where's the orange, where's the dangling carrot, and there's always something behind the agenda, there's something too good to be true, is that normally it is, and I guess I would really want to, uh if you're gonna say things and you're gonna do it, we got me as a leader got to make sure, like, you know what's the catch. If something sounds too good to be true, you know it's probably not. So to
So
me,
are
as
you saying the original promise sounded too
right,
good to be true?
right,
But the council voted based on that promise. It was a 5-4 vote. So they only got one extra vote to approve it. And every single person who voted for it said, well, I just can't turn down that much affordable housing, so that was
yeah,
the basis it was approved on. Yeah.
right, but nothing, but nothing happened, and they would have got the short end of the stick by voting for that.
Yeah, you mean the people who supported it didn't get what they wanted, didn't
Yeah,
didn't see what, yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
do we know why? I mean, maybe it's the cost, but maybe there were, other reasons. It didn't come back again for like another 4 years or something in 2012. Then it came back again, and
died.
then it had the different number of affordable housing. Yeah, yeah. But so any thought, you have to make a decision. What would your process be if you were on the council?
So again, my whole thing is for the people, yeah, for the people, regardless of all the gains, you know, the one that should be having the most gain, yeah, everything got to shift now. So I wouldn't have voted for that because they wouldn't benefit the people. We would get the shorter stick and I will stick, so I wouldn't have voted for that, Lucia.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think your rationale, besides your answer, your rationale is also important for people to understand because people are going to be watching this
Yeah.
interview. So it's important to understand, who you are and how you make decisions. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for answering that. It's a complicated issue, but you're right. Some things are simple about it. Mahalo. Okay, Robin, back to you. I think we're each at our last few questions here.
So I'd like to continue some of the discussion of social services. So we talked earlier about how the need for more kind of meeting people where they are, more direct contact with the people in need of the services. And the fact that the county can, in fact, the county does put a lot of money into supporting nonprofits who do that kind of work. What I hear a lot from people receiving those services is that they don't feel that either the process isn't fair or they weren't treated well by the people making the contacts, or there's allegations of maybe people high up in the nonprofits. I'm not saying it's true, but some of the people think maybe they're getting a too high of a salary and not enough money going into services. So what do you think, what kind of accountability should the county ask for when the county is turning over this very important service function, which I think is a good idea? The county can't directly do everything, but how do we make sure that those agencies and those nonprofits are accountable in how they treat people and how they spend money and how they pay their staff? Not
Yeah.
only don't pay them too high, but also don't pay them too little,
Too
because
low.
we
Yeah.
want good staff, so how do
Yeah.
we get accountability in that
Well,
grant?
obviously relationship, yeah, meetings every so often, full transparency, and just, I mean, expect an audit. Everybody gets audit now. A yearly audit, and that conversation, who's who, transparent all the way. And, see the successes, measure the failures, measure and see how we can correct. It's an ongoing thing. So yeah, it's just full transparency, a heart-to-heart relationship with the county and all these, and everybody should be doing that. It should be common sense every year. Audit, transparency, numbers, see the numbers. I want to see this, and the reasons why the numbers drop or we gain, or anything, any incidents, just make sure we have him on track of everything.
And would you support feedback from the people receiving the services as one of
Yeah.
the measures of success? Yeah.
Yeah, automatic. That's testimonies, and even the failures, even the mistakes, even where they fell short, that's necessary, and so everybody can learn. So I think if you embrace it, you invite it, it's not a gotcha program. It's not something where, we're trying to catch you, but no, it's something that we believe in. Mistakes might happen. It's going to happen, but we learn from it. But full transparency of annual relationship, I think so is good.
Thank you for that.
Okay, Rita, do you have any a final question? And that'll be our last one.
I have hopefully a quick one. Randy, what is the burning question that you hoped somebody would have asked you today but didn't ask you?
I was expecting all the bills and all of the affordable housing and the whole craziness, but I thank you for bringing up my past, and it helps me to just deal with it. I'm still human, and I know what I was doing when I got in doing this. I talked to my wife and my daughter, and they said, just go with your convictions, and you're no longer that person. So thank you for challenging me like that, Rita. And again, I'm all in it to win it. This is not a game for me. This is not, this is I'm all in it. I genuinely put everything, and we see I'm gonna learn something, no matter what. Thank you guys.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mahalo. Good luck.
Good luck.
I know.
Get
Thank
that
you so
story
much.
out there.
Yeah,
Thank you so
it's a
much.
great story. It's a wonderful story. I got chills up my spine. I think it will affect people. Your story is of turning your life around. It's a beautiful story. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Amen.
And
Thank
thank
you,
you,
guys.
Randy,
Thank
for
you.
letting people in our community really get to know you. a much deeper level, not only around the issues, but about personally too. So thank you again, Randy, for participating. And for those who are listening, we will have many more interviews coming up. So stay tuned. So
Thank you
mahalo.
guys. Bye.
Julio.
Mahalo.
Bye.
Yeah.